Alright, it's the boy Blackbeard Mirage. Time to go into some more history. And tonight we're going to dig a little bit into the Aboriginal American ancient history. Alright, as I said in the past few tapes, we're going to try to unravel and clear up the cobwebs on the American history. Basically connect the so-called African culture and African heritage to the ancient Americas, because Africa really is a code word for the traveling melanated Aboriginal people of the planet. So no matter what continent they're on, it'll be called Africa by European scholars, and that's just a little trick that they use to confuse people. But we're going to talk about the American history and talk about the first inhabitants of North America or ancient America, and what were the cultures of ancient America. All right, we're going to talk about how the word Moor or the Moors is actually describing the American Aboriginals, okay, or the American Aborigine. So we're going to connect the word Meru or Moor to the American Aborigine, all right, because a lot of us, may think that the word Moor is just talking about the so-called North African people or the so-called blacks that ruled Europe. But there was an ancient Moorish or ancient Amaru presence here in South and North America. And this actually is linked to us, believe it or not. So when you have people calling you a Moor, based on your ethnicity or your appearance, we're going to kind of clear up why they, say that to you. So as I said, how the word Moor pertains to the ancient Aboriginal, and clear the confusion up on establishing the Aboriginal Meru or the Moorish presence in America. All right. And I talked about Meru in a previous tape, the Amaru, Meru, but we're going to go into also a mythology as well. So America is modern day Atlantis or Lemuria, all right? And thousands of years ago, the first American civilizations were built by super ancient Lemurians and Atlanteans, all right? So we're tying America to the Garden of Eden or Mount Meru, the home of the gods. If you read a lot of Vedic literature or ancient Vedic mythology, or what they call an Indian mythology, that they will talk about the gods coming from a place called Mount Meru, all right? Now, you got to think that when they call this so-called person, Christopher Columbus, coming to America, he called the people Indians, all right? And the ancient Indians had a certain mythology that their gods come from a place called Meru or Meru, all right? Now, this is all kind of going to funnel right into America, because I want you to, listen to all the words I use with the consonants MR. Once again, listen to all the words I use with the consonants MR, because there's something about that has been following us through history. We have named a lot of our cities, including the word MR, and a lot of the names we've used for ourselves to describe ourselves, and names other people's used to describe ourselves, contain the word MR in it. So we're also going to be identifying ancient American culture based on mythologies, all right? So old mythologies of the land. And as you know, another name for this place is Turtle Island, all right? So I want you to be thinking this whole, tape, we talking about North, Central, and South America. That is the geographic location. Go ahead and lock that in your mind. North, Central, and South America. And even if I use the word Africa, I'm still talking about North, Central, and South America. I know it may be confusing, but we need to start shifting gears in our consciousness with this great understanding, all right? So I want you to think Turtle Island. I want you to think Jerusalem, Georgia, because you have a city in Georgia named Jerusalem. You also have a Rome, Georgia, and you also have an Egypt, Georgia. So I want you to be thinking about ancient Rome and ancient Egypt and ancient Jerusalem being in the Americas, all right? I want you to think about Memphis, Tennessee, all right? Just like you hear about this ancient Egyptian city of Memphis, I want you to start correlating Memphis with the Americas. Just like, okay, you have Atlanta or Atlantis, all right? Phoenix, Arizona, Mexico City or Mexico, Chicago, Mecca or Morocco, all right, or ancient Jerusalem. So all these names, are basically talking about the same landmass we own, all right? North America, Central America being Lower Egypt, and South America being Upper Egypt or Upper Israel. And you'll see why I say that in a minute. And before I go too deep, let me pull my little map out. So here in the map, I'm talking about Mexico, the south part of what they got United States on this map, but the south part of the United States, such as Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and that little region, Mexico and Central America, this is Lower Egypt region. So Lower Egypt region would be the south part of the so-called United States. and the Mexico region. All right. Upper Egypt would be what we call in Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, or Jerusalem, and a lot of these other little islands. So this would be more your Upper Egypt. This is more your Lower Egypt. All right. The Father, the Son, the Father, the Son. All right. So let's go a little bit into a little quick article I got that I want to read. All right. So as I said, if you want to get the origins of a place and where the inhabitants say they came from, it's best to look at a lot of the ancient mythologies from the old spiritual and old religious systems of the land, either by talking to the people, by finding archaeological artifacts, and you're just finding things that are on the land, such as the monoliths, whatever you can find in excavations and caves. And one of the things that they have in South America is the old ancient tale of the Amaru, which is a Christ figure, okay? And this is going to lead us into the first inhabitants of the Americas, all right? So let's kind of go into this thing a little bit. Amaru, or Lord Meru, as one of the teachers of Lemuria, was delegated by the hierarchy of the sacred scrolls in his possession, along with the enormous golden disk of the sun, to the mountainous areas of a newly formed lake in what is now South America. Here he would guard and sustain the focus of the illumination flame. The disk of the sun was kept in the great temple of divine light in Lemuria, and was not merely an object of ritual and adoration, nor did it serve that single purpose later on when it was used by the high priest of the sun. Among the Incas of Peru, Amaru journeyed to the new land in one of the Silver Needle airships of the time. All right, so let's talk about this real quick. So Amaru, or Lord Meru, keep up with this word Meru now, because this is where this more word is coming from. They say that Amaru is one of the ancient teachers from Lemuria. All right, so that's your first connection. And then they saying that these people came to a mountainous area in what is now called South America. So the first connection is that Amaru, this ancient teacher, and these people of Lemuria came to what is now called South America. All right. It says that they were guarding a illuminated flame, so they were dealing with some form of wisdom and some kind of gnosis. All right, when they talk about this divine light of Lemuria in the great temple, the illumination flame. Basically, Amaru was one of the high priests. All right, dealing with the knowledge. Okay, so in the mystery systems, it could be a Moses, it could be a Heru. Basically, this Heru figure of ancient Egypt is who Amaru is. Okay, think about how Heru, Meru, and Peru all sound alike. All right, because Heru actually is an ancient American Christ figure. All right, so if you think in Egypt, yeah, it's true, but Egypt as in South America or North America. Let's continue. So another thing it's saying is that Amaru was one of the high priests of the sun among the Incas of Peru. All right, so basically a Christ figure of ancient Peru. All right, and ancient Incas. All right, so once again, these aboriginals of Peru were these Incans. All right, and these Incans also were from the Lemurian civilizations, we can say. All right, and it says that Amaru came to these lands. So this is an ancient mythology of the first inhabitants of primordial America. All right, they're telling you that they came from Atlantis and Lemuria. Okay, because that's a little bit more into the information that Lemuria and Atlantis basically were simultaneous civilizations or simultaneous epochs of time. Atlantis being the latter and Lemuria being a little bit older. All right. And once again, all this stuff is connected to the ancient Americas. So whether you want to view this as when America was part of the Pangea stage and you viewing Atlantis that way, whether you were viewing Atlantis as, when the continents were separate and you viewing the Americas as separate continents as they are today and you viewing Atlantis in that way, either way it goes, you are correct. Because the first civilizations that were sprung on these continents were these Atlanteans or these Lemurians, and that's how they named it. So when they say that Amaru or Amaraka is the land of the plumed serpent, this is this same Quetzalcoatl figure or this serpent figure. We have Heru right here, and clearly you can see on Heru's crown you have the cobra or the serpent figure. All right, that is Meru, also known as the Nagas. All right, so the Nagas or the serpentine fire or serpentine wisdom is Meru or Amaru or Quetzalcoatl. So Quetzalcoatl in the South American mystery system is also Heru or Amaru. And that's why you see this serpent on the crown of Heru, because the serpent is another symbol for the Christ figure. All right. So this serpent you see right here is an ancient American symbol. All right. And we are known as the serpent people. And this America is the land of the plumed serpent. All right. So let's talk about the benefits of Amaru initiation and meditation. Because when we talk about the Freemasonic system, when we talk about the ancient Egyptian mystery system, and the ancient Gnostic systems of the old world, a lot of them were right here in America. And a lot of the different pyramid complexes you see in South and Central America were where these teachings were taught and where a lot of people were initiated into this higher gnosis. So in other words, ancient America also is a place of wisdom, the serpent wisdom. That's why they talk about the Garden of Eden and this serpent coming in bringing this wisdom, correlating you to ancient America. They talk about it in ancient Greece because, like I said, ancient Rome, all right, and ancient Phoenician, and a lot of these ancient Trojan empires over here in America. There's a place called Fort Benning in Georgia, and around Fort Benning they found a stela or a tablet that had ancient Cretan writing, all right, from the people of Crete. Now you all know Crete being an island in the Mediterranean Sea, and these people being also the Trojans or the people of Etruria, like you hear about the Trojan War. See, when I say that, you all thinking of Greece and the Mediterranean, but you got to think more over here now. Okay, so ancient Greece, ancient Rome, ancient Jerusalem, and ancient Egypt, and all these ancient places are right here in America. Ancient Mecca, right here in America. All right, they have a Mecca in Chicago right now. That's why a lot of stuff be popping over there, and even Noble Drew Ali did a lot of work in Chicago. So let's continue. The benefits of Amaru initiation and meditation. All right, cleans and purifies the energy bodies. Helps raise our fire serpent or Kundalini. Once again, Amaru, a serpentine energy. Increases our manifestation power. Increases our consciousness into higher consciousness. Helps to activate our third eye chakra. Build a bridge between us and higher dimensions of the universe. All right. So once again, Amaru is a symbol of the Christ wisdom of the ancient Americans. And we just codified it in mythologies with characters such as Heru, Quetzalcoatl, and all these other people. But what it's ultimately talking about is the awakening spirit in man and woman that provides understanding and high awareness, okay, and high creative functions, all right, high reproductive functions. And as I said before, you know, a lot of this stuff about the gods and goddesses are talking about certain powers in the human body. So when we say the third eye, or even a symbol of Heru or Quetzalcoatl, this is the Christ serpentine energy. So this figure you see right here is just a symbol for a power that is inside of your body right now that gives you a God-like ability. And our ancient ancestors of America were, you know, they were the people who taught this and created this stuff. So a lot of the Kabbalistic systems of the ancient Hebrews were right here in America. All right, right here in America. So like I said, these ancient mythologies are giving us, you know, insight to the first inhabitants of primordial America. Memphis is North America, or ancient Ta-Meri, because you'll hear ancient Egypt also called Ta-Meri. I want you to think about Maryland, and I want you to think about Virginia as well. These ancient goddess archetypes, you know, of North America. Once again, showing you that ancient Egyptian connection and the ancient Hebrew connection. All right. I want you to think about. Let me continue. Sorry about that. I want you to think about the ancient Incas. All right. Ancient Incas being the Aboriginal Americans of ancient Egypt, all right, or ancient Peru. Like I said, Peru is a post-Lemurian city of Heru or Aboriginal Americans. As I said, Meru is another word for Moor or ancient American or Aboriginal American, because as time goes on, the vowels were interchangeable, but they kept the consonant as MR. All right, so they may have switched out an E and a U for two O's. So we use it more as an M-O-O-R, but in the ancient world, it was Meru, M-E-R-U. So you are still these same ancient people, these serpentine people of America. That's what Moors are. The Merus or the Moors, all right? Ancient Aboriginals, all right? So also too, ancient Jerusalem or ancient Israel is a post-Lemurian city of the ancient Hebrews that lived here in ancient America, all right? So ancient Israel is a post-Lemurian city because the ancient Hebrews go way back into time. They go way back before the flood. They go back to the primordial times of life and creation, because the Hebrews were some of the first original people on the planet. So the Egyptians and the Hebrews, a lot of these people were living simultaneous. The ancient people of Islam, they live simultaneous, all right? As I said, The Amaru is an ancient American Christ archetype, all right, or Heru archetype. Also Yeshua, and your whole story is about so-called Jesus. You know, you got to remember that the Holy Roman Empire was the bleached out Caucasians who were raised up through the Freemasonic system here in America from the colonies. And they actually came through the Great Britain or the ancient Holy Roman Empire. That's still what's going on today. So the United States actually is just a colony of so-called Rome, all right? But ancient Rome was right here in America. That's why this stuff is still popping here. So ancient Ta-Meri or ancient Egypt, once again, America. Amaru, Meru, or Ameri or American, just showing you the MR. Lemuria, Amaraka, South America, North America. Just making that connection, all right? So I want to go through this a little bit quick. So the Egyptian Hebrew culture is post-Lemurian / Atlantean, and its roots are in ancient America. Our ancestors have been on this continent for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. America is Egypt / Jerusalem, the land of Amaru Meru. We may need to begin to view the Old and New Testament in terms of South and North America. Our people have always seemed to travel from the north to the south. So when you start reading the Bible from now on, stop viewing the Old Testament and New Testament as being the Hebrews of the so-called Middle East and thinking that that stuff happened over there. You know, what if it happened all here in South America and North America? Because they tell you that in the so-called Spanish conquest, that Cortez and some of these other people were looking for the ancient golden city of El Dorado, and that they were coming to sack Jerusalem. So if they were coming to sack Jerusalem, why did they come to Mexico and Peru in the 1500s if this place wasn't Jerusalem? All right. Continuing. As Aboriginal Americans or American Aborigines, you must view the Aztec, Mayan, Incan civilization / culture and monuments as an ancient version of the Hebrew, Islamic, Egyptian, Minoan, Orthodox, Ethiopian, Gnostic, Christian traditions, which all came from the much older Lemurian Atlantean times and Atlantean mystery systems. So Aboriginal Americans who were building pyramids, wearing feathers and looking like what we call them Native Americans, were speaking ancient Aramaic, ancient Latin and Spanish, ancient Ethiopian, ancient Hebrew, ancient Arabic languages. Most of the document so-called slave rebellions of South America in the 15 and 1600s are recorded as Islamic slave uprisings. So there's a book called The Slave Revolts of Bahia, Brazil. It's a book called The Slave Revolts of Bahia, Brazil. And in that book, it talks about in 1511, how the different Islamic Aborigines of South, Central, and North America started having these uprisings when these people tried to come here and force them into slavery. And they would call them Islamic uprisings. There was a brother by the name of Boukman, who was an Islamic brother down from Jamaica. And he led an uprising that was freeing Jamaican, part of that whole freeing the islands and that whole Holy Jihad, part of the whole Holy Crusades down there. So another thing that the Holy Crusades they talk about is right here in the Americas. All right. When they talk about the bleached out Christian empires or nations, rather, fighting against the Islamic nations, that's right here in the Americas. So the so-called slave revolts of Brazil is the Holy Crusades. The Christians fighting against the Muslims, all right, Moslems, the Muslims. So these people are your direct ancestors, not any people in Africa. All right. So once again, think about what your grandma and your great aunt and all them people told you. Remember how your grandma said that y'all are part Choctaw and your people were Choctaw? No, you actually are 100% Choctaw. So all that stuff when people in your family was telling you that y'all were part, you know, this tribe and part that tribe, that actually is 100% really of who you are as an Aborigine. So we are all American Aborigines, but we come from different tribes. So once again, I'm an American Aborigine, but my people are Blackfoot. You see what I'm saying? As far as the tribe lineage, I know this from family oral tradition. Okay. So we got to stick to family oral traditions. Like your family oral traditions are telling you that you are Aborigine American, but they're teaching you in school that you are from Africa. Once again, in order to teaching somebody is a certain part of teaching somebody is convincing them. But, you know, if your great aunt told you that, you know what I'm saying, your people are Muskogee Aborigines, then that's what it is. Nobody taught her that. She didn't go to Google. She didn't go to YouTube to figure that out. She learned that through oral traditions. And another thing, a lot of the different census that the United States were created when they were coming to our homes and counting our people up, they were naming our ethnicity. So they was the ones calling us Negroes and blacks and African Americans. They never sat down under these people and actually asked them what their family heritage was in history. Have you ever thought about that? Think about on these U.S. census when they come into the projects and the ghettos and they counting up how many people in there. They're not asking them their family heritage to figure out where they came from. These European Caucasians are putting on their Negro, black, African American, and all this other fuck shit that they coming up with, American Indian. They are calling you that. They're not asking you and interviewing you about your family heritage. If that was the case, then these names would be the names we give them. But why is it not? Because they making the names up for us. All right. So the pyramid complex is all around the Americas, from the Yucatan Peninsula all the way to Arizona, prove this ancient Moorish old American presence. Also Mystery Hill up in Rhode Island. They found ancient Canaanite temples and things of this nature up in Rhode Island, connected the ancient Canaanites to the Americas. So once again, when we say the ancient Hebrews, when we say the ancient Libyans, when we say the ancient Indians, when we say the people from ancient Mecca, when we say the ancient Israelites, when we say the people of ancient Ta-Meri, when we say the ancient Babylonians, when we say the ancient Holy Roman Empire, all that stuff is right here in the Americas, and these civilizations and these people are living simultaneously, and they are all a copper-colored melanated people. So yeah, we may come from different, variations of these nations and kingdoms, but just ask yourself which one you identify with the most. Me personally, I identify a little bit more with the Hebrew, Islamic, Egyptian thing. I kind of that information and those cultures and heritage, I gravitate towards that. You see what I'm saying? So the Hebrew, Islamic, Egyptian lifestyle and that gnosis, and a lot of what you're seeing down in South America, I gravitate more towards that. And Egypt more from the American perspective. I don't really gravitate towards the Egypt from the African perspective. I'm not a sand desert person. I'm an American. I'm more of the, I'm a jungle, living on the land, how the weather is here, and that's the Egypt I'm from. So if you're saying that you connected to the ancient Egyptian empire, that's cool. But is it the American Egyptian empire, or is it this later day African one? You know what I'm saying? Once again, the Egyptians of Africa in the East, you may not be directly related to them. But the Egyptians from South America and North America, you may more directly be related to them. Just think about those pyramids right now. You think them pyramids not the same as all these other ones in Egypt? The ones in the Yucatan Peninsula are the exact same ones that you're seeing over in Egypt, in Africa. All right, the same technology. These people were traveling around, passing technology and information to each other. All right. So let me see what else I got on my notes. So, America is the home of your fathers and mothers. This is where you're from. And like I said, wherever Caucasians use or find copper melanated people, they're going to call it Africa. This is a scholastic, academic, psychological trick they use. Africa is really a code word for an aboriginal on Earth, regardless of the location. Africa is not a continent, all right? So Africa is kind of like a code word, just trying to explain aboriginal people. You know what I'm saying? So let's look at the map. When you all think of Egypt, you all are thinking about over here. But what I'm looking at, okay, I'm led to believe that this Egypt over here is much older. The pyramids over here that are the oldest are step pyramids, okay? And clearly when you look at them, they're not as, well put together as the more smoothed out pyramids that have the straight point. The step pyramids over here are pretty complex and pretty sophisticated and designed pretty well. So the step pyramid technology over here in the Americas is greater than the step pyramid technology over here. But they'll tell you that the step pyramids and that concept is older than the pyramids that you all are familiar with. So if the greater technology and sophisticated version is over here in the Americas, then maybe these people learned their technology from the ones over here. You see what I'm saying? Also, when they talk about Morocco, all right, if I just said that they have a Mecca in so-called Chicago, and the ancient Islamic aspect of the empire is over here, this Morocco that was built in West Africa that's not ancient. That was no more than a few hundred. That was no more over than a few dozen to 100 years ago. This Morocco over here in West Africa, okay? All right. So this is where our people are from, the ancient Americas, all right? Think about how they calling this place Peru, P-E-R-U. Think about Heru, H-E-R-U. Think about Jerusalem, Jeru. All right, Salam or Salim. All right. Don't that mean peace? What do black people like to say every time they see each other, or when they're about to greet or exit rather? Don't they say peace? All right, man, peace out, I'm gone. I say that a lot of times when I was in the hood on the block. You know, I'm about to go home. I say, all right, bro, peace out, I'm gone. See, we've been saying these things all this time. Shalom, all these different words. Assalamu alaikum, malaikum salam. We've been saying this stuff this whole time. This is your culture. This is your heritage. But what happened was the European foreigners came here and tricked you out of it. So let's look at the history of what happened. You are an Aboriginal American or an American Aborigine, all right? You were the first inhabitant of the Americas. Nobody brought you here on any slave boats, okay? They have records of you being here thousands and thousands of years ago, dating back to about 75,000 BC, 50,000 BC, 25,000 BC, dating you here in the Americas, all right? Go look this information up on your own, because see, the way this shit is gonna work, it's more like an alley hoop. If I give you everything, then you won't really value this information. I give you enough to basically go find what you can find on your own. So if I give you the book, I'm gonna give you the book and the tape. You know what I'm saying? So I would rather you all not ask me certain things in the description or in the comment section that I already put in the video, because that kind of led me to believe you didn't listen. So once again, the book that I mentioned and referenced in this video is The Slave Revolts of Bahia, Brazil. Okay, The Slave Revolts of Bahia, Brazil. I can't remember the author's name right now. It's a long, Islamic name, but it's The Slave Revolts of Bahia, Brazil. All right. So I just want to go over this history real quick. It's the boy Blackbeard, Aboriginal American history. Okay, we need to be tying the ancient Hebrews, the ancient Egyptians, and all this culture, the ancient Latin or ancient Holy Roman Empire, to South America. Okay, I've seen certain pictures to where the emperor or the king of the Holy Roman Empire was also the emperor or the king of the Incas. All right. So just because you all see these pyramids does not mean that the people didn't speak Latin, Arabic, or Hebrew, or ancient Ethiopian. All right. I've seen maps that called South America Ethiopia. Okay. So let's go over this again. Meru, or Meroe. Meru is also an ancient city in Ethiopia. But don't they call so-called melanated people Ethiopians? Not just talking about in East Africa, I mean worldwide. Remember, a lot of these are scholastic trickery words. Africa and Ethiopia is one of them. Africa and Ethiopia are one of them. Those are scholastic trick words that could be right here in America. All right. So the Aborigine presence of the Americas is real, and you all have a birthright, okay? And you all should be inheriting this information, and you should be identifying with it. Look into the different pyramid complexes in the Grand Canyon right now that they are hiding. All right. They got military people and all this stuff flying around with helicopters and all type of shit to make sure you don't go deep into these caverns of the Grand Canyons and find all the different Egyptian tombs, the different Egyptian places of worship. You know what I'm saying? The different Egyptian pyramid complexes. So when we say the ancient Americas are built up and contained a lot of civilizations. You had the ancient Persians of America, the ancient Egyptians of America, the ancient Babylonians of America, the ancient Hebrews of America, the ancient Phoenicians of America, the ancient Cretans of America, the ancient Etrurians of America, the ancient Mandarins of America. You see what I'm saying? So all of those are ancient Americans, Aborigine Americans. It's just, what culture do you identify with? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to go to 23isbat.com. You don't need them people on PBS to tell you where you really are from. What you need to do is you need to go ask grandma and granddad, aunt and uncle, people from the hometown you from. Ask them what they say and look for the so-called Native American names. And the name that you hear is who you are, 100%. You see what I'm saying? And since you have a mother and father, more than likely there's going to be two Aborigine tribes. So your mother comes from one and your father comes from one. So try your best to figure out what they are and identify with them. You don't need nobody to convince you. You know what I'm saying? That's who you are. All right. So let me kind of go over this again. So the way I think things went down, I think that, our ancient people had, of course, civilizations and set up kingdoms all across the Americas. But I think once the different Spaniards and Europeans and things, these people started invading, they started moving more from the south to the north. And I think the reason why in the south of what they call in the United States, around Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, the reason why it's so heavily populated with melanated people, because I think a lot of us came from what they call the ancient Mexican Empire, all right, or around the Yucatan Peninsula, Cuba and those different islands, Haiti, Jamaica, the Bahamas, etc., Dominican Republic, Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Venezuela. I think a lot of us were down in those areas, but when you have those conflicts going on, you move out of those areas. So just think about how in the Old Testament, how the Hebrews had all that conflict and fighting going on, and they were moving from here to there and here to there and here to there. Well, what if that was just a lot of migrating across the Americas? You know what I'm saying? The ancient Egyptians were basically the old empire that the ancient Hebrews were fighting against. And the ancient Hebrews were people living simultaneous with them, and they just had a conflict and they split. So they really also view Israel or Mexico as also being a part of Jerusalem too. You know what I'm saying? Just look at that as Little Egypt or Lower Egypt. Because my understanding of this is getting kind of wide and great, I still don't separate the Hebrews from the Egyptians. They have a different culture, but I think they still come from the same primordial, genetic archetype. All right, both on the paternal and maternal side. Just going outside of what you all are reading in the Bible, just more on a real life basis. This is just my understanding. So although the Hebrew language may be different, the religious system may be different, the culture and heritage may be different. They just are a group of people that chose to do things their own way. No different than everybody else. Because Egypt was just a consolidated aspect of the Lemurian and Atlantean Empire. You know what I'm saying? So all the other, systems that came after that, such as Christianity, Hebrews, Islam, and all this other stuff, they just took what they wanted out of the Egyptian mystery system and created their own version of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And to wrap this up, if you want to see where a lot of your alchemical and ancient symbols are, just look at a lot of these basketball, football, hockey, and baseball, and these sports teams and the logos. That's why I'm so gravitated to the Atlanta Hawks logo, because the Atlanta Hawks and Falcons, especially the Falcons logo with the red and black, because that's a Heru symbol. Think about how Heru is the falcon. How you see him right here, Heru the falcon. And think about how we have that eagle on the back of our dollar, and think about how a lot of so-called Native American mythology is associated with the eagle, or the hawk and things of this nature. So this is the Aboriginal symbol for Amaru Meru. Amaru Meru is the hawk. You see what I'm saying? That's all one symbol. The serpent, the hawk, it's all one symbol. All right, dealing with Scorpio. Because Scorpio